your martial arts movie podcast.
I threw that shit before I walked in the room.
Featuring drunken Thai boxer Will.
Too bad you will die.
The also drunken wrestler Mark.
I said I don't want trouble.
And drunken karate master Zero.
You've lost your balls.
And now,
Talk. I know Kung Fu.
You know, baby.
Fists of Fail.
Yeah, we just came back from watching Raging Fire at the New York Asian Film Festival. This is the advanced screening, and I think the movie's coming out this Friday for a limited release. So This is our very special episode. Special in the sense that this will obviously be a little bit more of a general review. I think that it'll probably not be wise for us to break down all the action. One, because it's a relatively new release, or it's an upcoming release. And two, we don't have the movie in front of us, so we can't memorize everything.
Yeah, so what people may not realize is when we speak about the action, we are kind of watching it live on our own computers while we're discussing it. So we can talk about specifics, we can go back, we can go forward, and whatnot. But we have to go strictly on memory right now. And we've done this for a few episodes. We've done this for Triple Threat. We've done this for Fury.
Fury, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Yeah, it's been a while. We haven't always done it like this. We used to go strictly on memory, and we still managed to make long, podcast episodes out of it. So who knows? Maybe our skills got worse because we were watching the fights with visual assistance.
I say that our skills have improved. We just talk a lot. That's what it comes down to.
Sure.
Raging Fire. It's kind of a martial arts movie, right? Kind of.
There's martial arts in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's martial arts adjacent. I would say it's more of an action film along the lines of John Wick, where John Wick is heavy on the action, but it also does contain martial arts and it does contain fight scenes. I would say this is more along the lines of like maybe John Wick 2 and kind of 3, where 3 had a lot more action, or it had a lot more fight scenes, like real martial arts fights. Right. This one, it kind of leans a little more towards the action side, though.
Absolutely. And there's a lot more gunplay in the movie than actual martial arts. Strictly martial arts scenes. I believe that the movie does excel in both, surprisingly, when there actually is enough of them. And this is directed by the late Benny Chan in his final film ever. Who unfortunately passed away, I believe, last year. Which begs the question, did they film this when COVID was happening, or this is pre-pandemic or not? Because I was actually surprised with the amount of extras and cast members on set. So I was very curious if this was done a long time ago, because obviously post-production does take a while. But
right. Well, my understanding is he wasn't there for post-production work. He finished all his directing duties, but when it came to assembling the film, because of his illness, unfortunately, he couldn't be a part of that. And then, he passed.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason why we had to cover this movie, because, it is, in the most loose sense, a martial arts movie, because there is martial arts, but typically, if I had the movie in front of us and we were to talk about all the action scenes, we would be shortchanged a little bit, because we'd be like, oh, there's 2 fight scenes, and on a more technical level. But I feel like if you're a martial arts enthusiast, you can still get some enjoyment out of the movie. And there's just more broad sense action throughout the whole movie. But the real selling point of the film is the story, which I found really, really engaging throughout the whole film. Right?
I don't know if I would agree with you there. I think the main selling point is the action, for me at least. Okay. But the fact that the story is engaging helps the film feel like a whole. It's not just, oh, check out this movie. You can turn your brain off, but when the action happens, the action's great. When we were watching this in the theaters, I was pretty compelled the whole time, following the characters along, trying to figure out what's happening, how they, intertwines, because they don't exactly divulge all the information to us right off the bat. There is a little bit of mystery as to who the villains are. Like they don't exactly tell us that right away.
Right. Well, let's break down the story in a very broad sense because, again, upcoming release, and they don't feel like it'd be worthy of actually breaking down and spoiling it.
Yeah.
Really simple story, from a more over high level. Nicolas is wronged by his entire police squad because him and his comrades are told to retrieve information with any means possible. So he does something that's kind of off the books. It's off the books, but it's also he can get highly reprimanded for it.
Which he does. He gets highly reprimanded.
Yeah, and he goes to prison for it. Him and his comrades, see some time in jail, and they come out and they're bitter about it because everyone who told them that they would be completely covered, their asses would be covered, lied. They including Donnie. Donnie was actually the final testimony that forced basically was the guilty verdict. So it's just Nicolas who is basically the main bad guy. He is our main villain, but he's a sympathetic one. Like, you can empathize with him throughout the whole film, and I loved his performance in this movie because he is very intense. He does a really pretty good job throughout the whole film, but at the same time he has like this deep-rooted cheese throughout the whole movie. I don't know if you got that. Like, like you're mentioning about his laugh yesterday, like being an example of it. Right? Like he has that villain laugh.
Right.
You're also kind of drunk afterwards.
Yeah, I don't remember yesterday too much because we got really wasted while watching the movie as well. Not that I don't remember the movie at all. I can't remember what I said to you.
Oh, okay. Well, afterwards when we had that was the discussion we should have had afterwards because we were wasted.
Yeah.
But no, I remember you saying Nicolas had this very cartoonish villain laugh. And that's kind of how I felt about his performance. It was for the most part, he does a phenomenal job. And then every once in a while, he does play up. I wouldn't say he hams it up, but he does play a little bit of like super villainous character. But
it seems like he's kind of having fun with it.
Yeah.
He's not just bad guy. There are some layers to him.
Right.
He is sympathetic because we understand the police department pretty much threw him under the bus, even though he was obeying orders. And so obviously when you have a story like this, when you have a police drama like this is how you make a relatable character, somebody who's been wronged. And we all get it, if you were deceived in this way, automatically you're going to feel something. You're going to be like, okay, well, yes, he was wronged. He was thrown under the bus, like I mentioned. So that's that character attachment that the audience needs.
Yes. And then there's Donnie, who is our main lead. He is kind of... I guess his dilemma is... obviously he's on the side of the law, but I mean, as the movie progresses, he realizes, sometimes you aren't supposed to just obey orders blindly, right? There's sometimes a gray area, which he does in the movie, as all cop procedurals do. He's a monologue.
He's depicted as the... How would you say
He's
this?
almost like the good cop. He's the by the books kind of guy.
Yeah, he's too good of a cop because the movie in the beginning shows that he is, there's an opportunity for him to get swayed into the wrong side, to look the other way, we'll say, right? And he's like, nope, not going to do it. And it, kind of ruffles a lot of feathers. So that's a pretty broad stroke in painting a picture of that character.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that this is all surrounding the fact that the story I thought was relatively engaging, although it is not without its flaws. In that I feel the length throughout the whole film. We walked out of it, and I thought, man, this feels like over 2 hours, and I'm pretty sure it was. I would say that there are certain swaths of scenes that just could be totally omitted. I don't remember them exactly, but I remember feeling like, okay, what was the point of that scene? And that's just minor nitpicks, right? Because I feel like this whole movie could just be easily like truncated by 10 to 15 minutes. But all in all, like I still found the movie generally enjoyable, and that's because the drama is pretty well done.
Yeah,
right?
I think for me, what probably should have been nixed or edited out was Donnie's team, who, there's I guess there's like 5 members on each side of the team. Let's just say 5, and it's mainly the Donnie and Nicolas show. Like, even though it's very clear that there's members on both sides, they kind of have struggles. They have lines of dialogue. I don't remember any of them. Right? There's like female cop, and then 4 male cops. I think at one point there is some sort of argument between them.
Yep.
But ultimately, they could have been removed from the movie, and it wouldn't have changed anything for me.
Yeah. No, I agree. I completely agree with that. There's a lot of character. Well, there are a lot of characters throughout the whole film. Some of which I feel are necessary because they're story driven, and other ones they're just kind of just window dressing, right? They're just kind of there. I don't even think they were given any names. Like some of the.
Well, I'm sure they were, but we can't even recall them. So.
That is very true. But yeah, I generally liked the film. I thought it was pretty well done. I don't really have all that much to say about the drama. Like I thought that was relatively well done. But the action, there's a lot of it. There's a whole bunch of it, and one of which takes place in the police story mall, Wing On Plaza, which I don't know if anyone knows this, is the final scene from Police Story, the first one, wherein Jackie descends from the top floor and falls to the ground. This movie kind of pays homage to that, and without going to specifics, I thought that was awesome. It was like, oh, as soon as you and I saw it in theater, like saw that scene, saw the set, we're like, oh shit, that's the mall. That's like only you, like martial arts enthusiasts, would just be able to like immediately pick up on.
Yeah, that was pretty nice. Cool to see. Yeah, that was cool. And yeah, I think that the action in general is very heavy on the gunplay, right? But that's not to say that the kung fu or the martial arts in general, when they appear, isn't so bad. I think it's done pretty well. I kind of wish there was a little bit more of it, but for what it's worth, I think that the movie does a pretty damn good job already. Right? Yeah, there is a lot of gunplay. It is, and this movie is action directed by Donnie Yen, mind you. So even though there is a gunplay, there's a lot of times where people will get into short little scuffles and then continuing firing and whatnot. So it's not like it's just everybody shooting everybody. Whenever two adversaries kind of clash, they do try to fight each other off.
Yeah.
At times. So there's that.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I really don't know what else to say about the whatchamacallit, the action from a general standpoint. Like, because I'm not the biggest movie gun shootout kind of person. I don't normally gravitate towards them. But I think the movie does a pretty good job when it does get down to it. Like with the exception of like movies like the John Wick series, which combines martial arts with gun fu, I guess, on-screen gun choreography. But this movie, like they change it up just enough where I feel like it's well done. It straddles the line. Well, maybe straddles the line isn't exactly the way I want to phrase it. It's like, here is the line that separates what's realistic and grounded, and what's hammy and cheesy action fodder. And this movie just like, if this was the line, it just goes up and down. It's just constantly straddling it, but like in an extreme way. Like in particular, there is a chase sequence in the movie where one of the characters is on a bike, and they're basically doing kung fu they're basically doing kung fu while they're in their vehicles.
Yeah, Nicolas is on a motorcycle, kind of straddled up to Donnie in a car, and they're both fighting each other. Yeah, that's where things can get dangerously cheesy in what is supposed to be, for the most part, a serious police drama / action film. So
right, and I think that's fine because like that still straddles the line a little bit. It's closer to like somewhere in between, and then suddenly there's a scene where a child almost gets run over.
Oh God, yeah, that the whole audience like burst into laughter during that moment. So yeah, there are definitely like Hong Kong ish moments, Hong Kong hilarity going on sometimes, and I don't think it's supposed to be, but maybe it is. Who knows?
Yeah, if the whole audience is erupting into laughter, I don't know if it was the intended response. But hey, it's fine. I think that the action in general is pretty damn good. I think that the two martial arts scenes, is it two? I guess it would be two, right? Like if without actually talking, like too specific about them, there's two that like really stand out. Like it's just strictly martial arts, and there's one with Benny Lam that I really do like, because it's for those who don't remember Benny Lam, he was in High Risk. We talked about him in previous movies before. This was the sewer fight, if you remember, Zero. And
right.
Yeah, no, like I like that one a lot. It was kind of obviously very grimy because everything was taking place in the sewers. Again, we can't really break it down all that much, but that was pretty good. But obviously, there's a fight that happens with Ken Lo, who is also in the movie as well. So it was kind of nice that when I saw him, I was like, oh, okay, we have another martial artist in the movie. He doesn't really fight all that much between him and his thugs versus Nicolas and his thugs. And that doesn't really last very long. And then there's one final martial arts fight, and that's obviously between Nicolas and Donnie. And I appreciate that they did a really good job training Nicolas, because I do not believe he's a trained martial artist. He does a phenomenal job on screen.
Yeah,
right?
You could have fooled me. He looked phenomenal, especially against Donnie Yen. Like that. There's a danger of, if you don't have a seasoned martial arts actor fighting a very seasoned martial arts actor like Donnie Yen, Donnie might have had to pick up all the slack, and then maybe they might have just had to shoot a stunt double the whole time. But from what we could tell when we were watching it, I'm pretty positive that's Nicolas just doing almost all of it. They do lots of glamour shots. We almost always see his face.
Yeah,
there wasn't anything crazy that was being done where it was just behind the back, very obviously trying to hide it, hide the stunt double. So yeah, good for him. He like that last fight that could have broke the movie, right? Because when you have Donnie Yen, coming into action choreograph your film, and then the whole movie, it's not a martial arts movie like we've been saying. It's a little more action, but there is martial arts sprinkled throughout. So when you have this last fight, that's the big one. That's where you put all your all your chips in for, and thankfully it's awesome. It keeps on changing. It keeps on doing something different, and I thought both performers were very, very well in terms of just making it brutal and fun and just great to look at.
Right. I mean, I see that you wrote down here that it's broken down into 4 sections. You do have pretty good memory, but I think that the first part is the one that I wasn't a fan of. In
So
Final Fight, yeah.
Yeah, if you
No
were
spoilers, not a spoiler, but
Oh, okay. So you don't want to
no. Not as a spoiler, but I'll just say that the first part I'm not a fan of, because if you've heard my complaints about SPL, which again I love that movie, but that one fight that everyone seems to clip and send around and like, oh, look at this great knife fight. I'm not a fan of that. And I remember, I don't know if you remember because we were both drunk, Zero, but we were talking about it after the movie, and you said you like that. You like that kind of fighting. Do you remember your justifications for that?
Yeah, no, I do remember. Surprisingly, I do remember having that part of the conversation.
I just remember pizza and beer. That's what I remember after the movie.
So just to set up context, films are shot on 24 frames a second. So when things are happening too fast, sometimes it's hard to capture that in the amount of frames that are processed. So when you have two martial artists swinging weapons at each other too quickly, sometimes it doesn't look good, on frame, on film. And I have a feeling that with the SPL fight, because Donnie and Wu Jing are just so fast and how erratic they are with their swipes and their move sets, it kind of looks like a big blur, right?
It is a big blur. I don't think it kind of looks like it. It is.
Yeah, and there's also how it's shot as well. If you have some guy holding the camera as opposed to just like a stationary camera, trying to capture all that movement on screen, like that can get troublesome for somebody's eye if they can't keep up with it. I like fast knife choreography, even if I can't catch it the first time, because I like to go back and I like to look at how fast it all is.
Sure.
I like seeing it as a big blur sometimes, because if it's shot well enough, I can still, I can kind of take myself back, rewatch it, and then really see the choreography, because I appreciate how fast they are, because we don't really get that sometimes. We kind of mentioned in an earlier episode, Undercover Punch and Gun, there is a knife fight, and
that was great.
That move, that's a good knife fight. It's different. They are intentionally slowing down the moves. You can see telegraphed swings because that's easier for your eyes to read, and then it looks nice for the camera because it's going at a speed at which is capturable. With SPL and then with this movie Raging Fire, the first part of this fight where it's knife versus baton, it's erratic, but that helps sell that feeling like this is dire, this is crazy. I know you don't like it, but for me,
no, I don't.
That works. I think that works perfectly for what they're trying to accomplish.
I'm a big fan of choreography in terms of like actually seeing what I'm seeing. Like I understand if there's a direness behind it. Like I still felt that way. Like, okay, well, I don't want anyone to get stabbed, and when there is, when there is a big blow or someone get like punctured or injured or slashed, like I still feel it, but I actually like seeing the movements. There's like an artistry behind it, and the artistry behind the actors performing it, but also artistry in capturing on camera. And this is the second time Donnie's done, or I've watched a movie that was action directed by him, and it's basically almost the same premise as the SPL fight, right? It's baton versus a knife, but this time it's two knives. So it's even harder to capture with your eyes what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I caught it. I got it. I understood it's very fast, and it looks very fast on screen. And for some people, I think if you don't have like a really laser focused eye, you're gonna miss a lot of that. Because I know I missed some of that too. But I appreciate but I appreciate the speed because I know I want to go back and rewatch it. So that's like for this kind of fight works for someone like me who realizes, okay, that's fast. Maybe I didn't get everything. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go frame by frame because that's what I did.
Yeah. That it's unfortunate that we don't have access to the movie on hand right now. But from memory, I'd say that I mean, I remember being in theaters just peeking over to you and be like, all right, I hate this. And you're like, I know you do. It was pretty obvious. But I would say for the most part, I didn't mind it as much as the SPL fight, because the SPL fight, I mean, it looks gorgeous too, but it's because of the cinematography in this movie is amazing. Like, I think at times it looks stunning. And it's very unique. Like, I always find the camera work to be so, like, well done. Like, even the action is always well shot, and something about the camera work here was just always done in these mids where you can always capture what's going on. So even if I couldn't see the movements themselves, at least I can see the actors performing them. I think that's important. That's a bit important distinction between this and SPL. Whereas SPL, like, sometimes it'll be a little too close, and all I see is just, I see like some movement, but I actually don't see the weapons themselves. So I'm like, okay, or like vice versa, and I'll be disoriented. Here, I don't feel like it's so much of a problem. That's my minor nitpick. Obviously, there's more elements in that final fight. There's apparently, oh, that's right. There's a hammer fight later in the movie.
Hammer versus, I guess, like, makeshift bow staff,
scaffolding equipment
with a metal pipe. Yeah. They're fighting in a church, like a, I don't know, renovated church, and they're using makeshift weapons. It's a fun fight. It slows down because Nicolas is then fighting with the heavy hammer, so it becomes very, very obvious, like, telegraph swings. Like, he's doing overhead, he's going to the side. There's only so much you can do, especially with that hammer, because it's very heavy on the one end, so it just slows him down.
Yep.
But because it's slowed down, they make up for it with just even more environmental damage.
Yeah. But I mean, there's that element of it. At least we get some variety in the final fight, right? I mean, we also, I guess, in Donnie's later as in like the past more modern years, let's just say modern years, sure. He's adopted a lot of like MMA-esque material in his choreography. So I was actually kind of happy that we saw that in the Benny Lamb fight, but like in the Shantytown area, but we also see it between him and Nicolas here. So I was pleasantly surprised to see that. And obviously, since he did the choreography, he also directed Nicolas to also perform it on him too. So we got some like groundwork in there, some BJJ, some like ground and pound, like not just your traditional, very over the top, hyper choreographed movements, which I'm still a big fan of. But Donnie seems to have a really good handle on making on-screen modern martial arts look good.
Man, like, brutal. There are so many brutal hits in this last fight.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone was just, like, cringing and oohing. Yeah. You get these, like, shots of Donnie just, like, kicking. Like, just a simple kick to the head. Like, just how, like, the camera kind of slightly zooms into it, or, like, when there's misses and he's, like, kicking away the, like, parts of the wall or parts of the wood. Mm-hmm. It's just, oh, man, it was good. Like, I think this is what people wanted, And it's great because he's getting older, but it's like he's getting better. So that's like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Donnie's always had this. He's strange because his career really took off in like the mid to late 2000s.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, I guess he's kind of coasting right now, but like most people don't surge in their late 40s. And according to, I mean, yeah, I guess it's true. Like now he's in his 50s, like late 50s.
58,
so, yeah,
I think,
he looks
right?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy because he's 58, and then I want to say that Ken Lo might be of comparable age. I mean, they're both around that,
think about it.
80s
like,
Hong Kong era, and he, Ken Lo, he's got the white hair already,
yeah.
so.
That's probably not makeup. That's probably his real natural hair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but he's fine in the movie, too. I think that... I mean, we're obviously glossing through a lot of action in the movie, right? So there again, there's a lot of cheese in it. There's a person who jumps on top of a grenade. There's someone behind who jumps on top of him. Like, let's just phrase it like that because that's not exactly how the movie it plays out in the movie. It explodes. The person underneath dies, but the person on top of him doesn't. I don't know.
I think
It's
we were
action
discussing
cheese. It's
yeah,
action cheese.
Yeah. We were discussing this yesterday. I'm pretty sure the bottom person's going to absorb all the shrapnel, but who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Why don't you let us know?
Don't test this out in person. Yeah, again, we're glossing over a lot of it, but I think that's not the point of today's episode. We're not going to go into all the specifics. I think that just breaking down the action on a more holistic, high level is plenty good enough. And I do recommend the movie. That is my general takeaway for this. It was, it's appropriate because this would be a great send-off for Benny Chan as a final movie. I think that this is all in all a pretty solid film. It's not flawless. There's definitely problems with it, with pacing. Sometimes scenes just drag on. There's no need for certain scenes at all. The characterizations throughout the whole film, I mean, outside of being too many characters, I thought were fine. I think Nicolas performance was great. I think that the action is over the top sometimes, but sometimes it's awesome. And there could have been a little bit more martial arts, but I think that as a general action movie, it's plenty good. I think that's the movie is just well worth it. So I say check it out. And that's my very short review of the movie. Zero, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. I had a blast watching this with you. And that's not because I was intoxicated. It's because I did enjoy the movie. Action, very, very good. You kind of mentioned this earlier. You do feel the runtime a little bit. But that's okay because you're still kind of engaged with the story. You're trying to figure out, okay, well, how are these characters connected? And they're just kind of teasing you along until ultimately, okay, well, this is how their relationship works, and you're like, okay, I get it. And yeah, definitely a high recommend. It's coming out. I don't know if it's getting a wide release, but it's coming out Friday. What date is Friday? It is the 13th. Friday the 13th. Oh no.
Yeah. Oh boy. We'll see if there's a general interest in it. But yeah, I say anyone who's listening right now, go check it out on Bad Luck Friday. Right.
Yeah, I highly recommend. Not to make fun of the late director, but yes, I'm glad this is his final film because no offense. Well, not no offense. Like, unfortunately, if you're going to go out, you want to go out with a bang, right? And I think he definitely does. Because his last movie was a children's animated film called Meow, and that is about an alien cat from the planet Meow befriends a human family on Earth, and shenanigans ensues. Also,
shenanigans ensue. Oh, that's the best
also
way to describe
the alien cat has laser eyes and. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm glad Betty Chan's last film is Raging Fire and not Meow.
Meow.